There is a precise irony at the center of Ametrano's thesis. The strongest argument people use to reject the idea that Bitcoin is a government is exactly what makes it superior to every government that has ever existed. Participation is voluntary. No one is forced under Bitcoin's rules without consent. The social contract described by Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau as the legitimate foundation of modern states never actually existed as a historical fact. It was always a retrospective fiction, a story created to justify the authority of those who already possessed power. Bitcoin changes that. For the first time in history, the social contract is real. The rules are known before participation. They cannot be arbitrarily changed after participation. And they apply equally to everyone, without exception, without privilege, without discretionary revision. This is why the absence of coercion does not weaken Ametrano's thesis. It strengthens it. If government is, at its core, a system of rules governing human coordination, then Bitcoin may be the first genuinely legitimate government humanity has ever created. Because no one is trapped inside it, and no one stands above it. But the logical consequence of a government without coercion goes far beyond honest money. It points toward an entirely different social order. This is where Hans Hermann Hoppe enters the picture. Hoppe developed the concept of a private law society around a radical premise. Contracts enforced exclusively through voluntarily pledged collateral, not through implicit threats against personal liberty. Because that is what the modern state ultimately provides. Every legally enforceable agreement carries an unspoken clause. If obligations are violated, coercion stands waiting in the background. Ignore enough court orders, refuse enough penalties, resist long enough, and eventually someone with a badge arrives. Remove that clause, and you are no longer reforming law. You are replacing the very foundation of modern legal enforcement. The same foundation Hobbes philosophically justified in the 17th century. And this is where Nostra becomes relevant. Nostra provides the infrastructure through which this rupture may become operational. Cryptographic identities independent of any state. Reputations built through verifiable histories of interaction. Private arbitration chosen voluntarily by the participants themselves. Together, these systems form a coordination layer the state has always claimed could never emerge without centralized authority. The contract and dispute resolution layers built on Nostra are still in their infancy. But the identity and reputation systems capable of supporting them already exist, and already operate beyond the reach of any single jurisdiction. Bitcoin provides the final settlement layer. Money that neither side can confiscate. Money that cannot be inflated away. Money that cannot be frozen. Together, Bitcoin and Nostra begin sketching the technical architecture of a society where dishonesty becomes more expensive than cooperation. Not because a jailer exists, but because incentives do. Not because coercion stands behind contracts, but because voluntary systems become more efficient than force. Traditional governments understand this more than they publicly admit. That is why they accumulate Bitcoin. The United States already controls hundreds of thousands of confiscated coins. El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. Sovereign funds from countries that publicly regulate or criticize the network quietly gain exposure through financial instruments. A government that attacks Bitcoin with one hand while accumulating it with the other is not behaving irrationally. It is behaving opportunistically within a reality it no longer controls. And that may be the clearest confirmation of Ametrano's thesis. For centuries, humanity built legions, navies, aircraft carriers, central banks, and bureaucracies to enforce monetary rules. The most consistently enforced monetary system in human history required none of them. Only incentives. Bitcoin is the smallest government in the world. So small, in fact, that it fits on a flash drive.